Luxury cars do not have to be expensive, and I would highly recommend not buying one brand new because depreciation can be insane on them. Today I'm going to show you 5 pretty new luxury cars that have all depreciated a bunch in the first sort of 3 to 5 years of them existing. If you want to see a cheaper version of this video, then do hit the like button. 1,000 likes and I'll make this video at a lower price range. Subscribe as well if you're new. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. The third generation Bentley Flying Spur is a properly beautiful full-size luxury car which was built on a brand new platform from 2019 in line with the new Continental GT as well, and some of the luxury features that I'm going to tell you about are insane. Honestly, I think this generation massively upgraded the car over the previous generations, especially aesthetically from the outside. But before I get onto the luxuries, I have to mention this is a very highly depreciated car from an annual perspective, losing around £12,850 per year or 7.5% average per year, as you can get these now starting at around £120,000, with most sitting at around the 135k mark, when originally they were over £170,000 adjusted for inflation. For that money, you'll be getting a 6-litre twin-turbocharged W12 engine, which makes 626 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 3.7 seconds, which makes it the second quickest car on the list. The attention to detail on these is insane. 13 Bavarian cowhides go into the leather on the interior, and the wood panelling will all come from exactly the same tree to ensure it all looks the same. If you get the rear seat entertainment package, it gets digital screens in the headrests which are connected to the onboard Wi-Fi. Plus, if you get the stereo upgrade, you effectively have a cinema on wheels. The infotainment in the front also comes in the form of a rotating screen, and many of the onboard systems are also able to be controlled by the rear passengers. On the exterior, it looks a bit more like a Bentley of the Rolls-Royce ownership era, with the larger grille on the front in particular, and it also of course comes with air suspension for an incredibly comfortable ride. Owners and reviewers genuinely rave about how good this thing is to drive despite the size. It comes in at a massive 5.3 meters in length. From a reliability perspective, these are good in general, and given they're quite new, most will have been serviced and maintained under warranty. Just know of course that the longer term ownership and maintenance costs of these will be in line with a £170,000 Bentley. When it comes to Audi, the flagship luxury car is of course the A8, which has its own struggles with depreciation, but for this video I wanted to mention the Q8 luxury SUV, which in black edition spec was around £97,000 new adjusted for inflation, whereas now they start at around £45,000, with most sitting at around the 55k mark or above. That means annual depreciation of around £12,870, which comes out at 13.3% per year. And for your money, we're getting a 3-litre turbo diesel V6 engine, which makes 281 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 5.9 seconds. Not super quick or anything, but plenty enough to cruise along in comfort. This is the first and currently only generation of the Q8, and it actually slots into the luxury crossover SUV class. In simpler terms, it's a coupe SUV which competes with cars like the BMW X6 and Mercedes GLE Coupe, and it appeared after both of those cars gained success, with Audi not fancying taking the risk. This does mean though that it did come in with the newest technology and luxury available at the time for Audi, and this of course shares its platform with other luxury SUVs from the VW group like the Lamborghini Urus, Porsche Cayenne and Bentley Bentayga. The interior is typically minimalist but opulent in proper Audi fashion, and it's pretty speccable too, with the diamond stitch seats being a popular option. I'm personally a fan of the massive center console, which definitely separates drivers from passengers. I'm not a major SUV guy though, but the exterior doesn't look too bad on these, to be fair to it. I love the crossover stylings. The only thing I'd say though is that of all the cars on this list, it's probably the least luxurious, but in black edition spec it does a great job of being both luxurious and comfortable without being too sporty like an SQ8 or an RSQ8. The engine is pretty well tried and tested by this point, and you'll not need to worry much about reliability given the car is only 4 years old. Owners complained about the gearbox not kicking down fast enough and about the infotainment glitching out. In the slightly more affordable full-size luxury car class, this has to be the flagship car, the Mercedes S-Class, and the most recent generation is one of the most advanced and luxurious cars on the market right now. Brand new in base spec with the S350D badge, these will cost you around £95,000, but you can get one that's just 2 years old for around £68,000 at the bottom end, with most sitting at around the 75 to 80k mark. That means these are depreciated by around £13,500 per year, meaning average depreciation of 14.2%, the highest rate of any car on this list. The S350D comes with the 3-litre turbocharged inline-6 engine, which puts out 281 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 6.2 seconds, so it's also the slowest car on the list, but of course 0 to 60 isn't what this car is about. It's about wafting along in the maximum level of luxury. That's why this comes with air suspension that can raise and lower depending on terrain quality, and a brand new infotainment system which automatically updates via the car's own Wi-Fi, or driver profiles linked either to your voice or fingerprint, a virtual assistant, and the ability to control your smart home appliances, all genuinely crazy stuff. The S-Class is of course a luxury car, but as you can see from that list, a lot of it is focused on technology too, and a major focus of some of this car's tech is on safety. It has 22 cameras and radar sensors to help with the cruise control and a bunch of other anti-crash systems. There's also a selection of internal cameras which help the car to respond to what the occupants are doing. For example, if the driver turns to look out the rear of the car, it can automatically bring down the rear sun blinds, or if the driver reaches for the glove box, the internal lights in the car will turn on to assist. When it comes to maintenance, these are so new that you shouldn't expect any major issues, and of course these are often used as executive taxis or chauffeur cars, which means in 5 to 10 years some of these will no doubt have hundreds of thousands of miles on them. Wanted to quickly jump in here, do hit like if you haven't already, 1,000 likes and make the same video again at a cheaper price range, and if you're new here, do hit subscribe for 2 videos every single week, and let me know in the comments down below. I want to hear your thoughts. Would you buy a brand new car? Are you happy stomaching depreciation? For me personally, I just can't make it happen. It can't run in my lifestyle. It literally couldn't be a video about luxury cars that are depreciating quickly without including a Maserati, and in this case I wanted to talk about the Maserati Levante Trofeo, which is actually a pretty rapid SUV thanks to its 3.8 litre twin turbocharged V8 engine, which makes 571 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4 seconds. Pretty insane. Brand new, adjusted for inflation, these were over £150,000 back in 2019, whereas today they start at around £66,000, with most sitting around the 80k mark. Genuinely insane depreciation. That means annual depreciation of almost £18,000 at a rate of around 11.5%. But going back to that engine for a minute, it's the same one you'll find in a Ferrari 488, just detuned slightly to be more relevant to a performance and luxury SUV. On release, it did actually make the Trofeo the most powerful Maserati in the company's history, excluding the MC12, and up until the MC20 came along. That engine is also shared with the step down from the Trofeo, the GTS, in which it's even more detuned down to the 530 brake horsepower mark. It also got Alfa Romeo's Q4 all-wheel drive, so it's an amalgam of pretty useful parts from across the group's brands, and helped the car to be exceptionally popular in markets like the US and China. In fact, across all its specs, the Levante is by far Maserati's best-selling model, which is what called for the performance Trofeo's creation. Considering this car weighs over 2,150 kilograms, the fact that it will do 190 miles per hour is pretty insane. The luxurious interior though is quite interesting. Despite this being a performance car, it's still mostly focused on luxury on the inside, and though there are some complaints about a mixture of premium and cheap parts being used, overall it is a lovely place to be, if a little less luxurious than some of the other cars on this list. Maserati have never had a great history of reliability, but again, as these are relatively new, they've been good so far. The main complaints I could find were related to the build quality on the interior, as I said, but even then a lot of owners did mention that the interiors felt a lot better put together than previous Maseratis, which is great news. Taking the top spot for depreciating by the most amount of money per year since its release is this, the BMW 760 Li, which is an absolute monster of a luxury car, given it has a 6.6 litre twin turbocharged V12 engine, which puts out 601 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 3.6 seconds, almost supercar levels of performance considering the size, weight and purpose of this thing. Adjusted for inflation, this was even more expensive than the Bentley, given it was released 7 years ago, but now you can get them anywhere from around the 40k mark, making it the cheapest car on the list, though most you'll find at around the 50 to 60k mark. The L in the name refers to the fact that it's a long wheelbase, and it actually fits into the limousine class thanks to its size. The reason why this car was and is so expensive is that a lot of the luxury has been informed by BMW's ownership of Rolls-Royce, where the previous generation 7 Series, or F01 for the proper BMW nerds, actually provided the platform for the Ghost. This generation was able to build on the success of those two cars, and really increase the level of luxury you find in the 7 Series. It's not just the luxury that increased, so the technical work that went into the materials used made this car much lighter than you'd expect, while maintaining exceptional torsional rigidity and safety in the event of a crash. I know that may sound a bit boring unless you're a loser like me, but what it basically means is that this car is faster, more economical, and handles better than you would expect out of a limousine. On the interior, these are pretty advanced too, with a 3D scanner that recognizes gestures of people in the car to complete activities without even using voice, and from a luxury perspective, if you can get one with the Excellence package attached, you get the most opulent interior for this car, with a passenger entertainment system and all the other fun bits. The previous generation generation suffered from high pressure fuel pump failure, but given this is much newer, the problems aren't quite as aggressive. Some owners have suffered from high oil consumption, but I wouldn't say it's common. Instead, it's the running costs that will get you, but of course it's a V12, so what can you expect? I've seen these 5 cars, but a little while ago, the same video at the same kind of price range with a bunch of cars that have depreciated even more since then, so check that out up here. And if you haven't subscribed, then do so down here. Huge thanks to you guys for watching, to the patrons for their support, and I will see you in the next one.